Washington reporter Kevin Frey following the president, joining us now live from Vatican City this morning. Kevin, the G20 conference obviously this weekend being held in Rome, so this is a convenient stop for Biden to see the Pope at the Vatican, but it's also a really significant meeting. As we just mentioned, there's a lot on the agenda.
Yeah, personal and political for this president. And as you just mentioned, he just arrived a few moments ago, pulling up the roadway beside me, and there was a line of people crowding to see the motorcade go past. Now, as you mentioned, yes, this is significant from a historical perspective. Yes, he's the second U.S. Catholic president to be sitting down with the president, or excuse me, with the Pope. But also from a personal level, they have a lengthy history together over the past decade or so. They met after Joe Biden's son, Beau, passed away. They have also conversed many times and met when he was VP. But of course, this is now his first time as an occupant of the Oval Office that he'll be sitting down with the Pope. And the discussion is going to be likely pretty broad. Everything from climate change. Obviously, that is something that Biden is trying to push through Congress, but so far has not gotten done back in Washington right now. Money, billions of dollars to combat climate change. But then on top of that, also poverty, and also the COVID-19 pandemic, and trying to make sure that more impoverished nations get access to that vaccine. That is, of course, something that the Pope is very adamant about. And so that is where we expect some of the conversation to go today when they meet, as they're meeting right now here at the Vatican.
Yeah, so Kevin, they agree on a few of those things, but obviously the elephant in the room is the president's stance on abortion rights. He obviously disagrees with where the church stands on that and where the Pope stands on that. So how do you expect him to navigate that? I mean, likely they will focus more on what they agree on instead of what they disagree on?
That seems to be likely what's going to happen. If anything, they may sidestep the issue. But as you mentioned, yes, a bit of the elephant in the room, in large part because of the political ramifications back in the U.S., where, of course, the American church, the bishops, so very much divided over this issue of abortion, whether or not Biden should be denied access to communion. The Pope so far has pushed back on that, basically saying, no, that should not be happening, and is, in that sense, very much aligning with Biden, even if he's, of course, not endorsing abortion. He very much stands with the long-held belief of the church that it is murder. We should also note that Cardinal Dolan from New York City, he so far holds by his statement from a few years ago where he basically says that he should not be denied communion. But Pope Francis is trying to avoid the politics of making this church too political by delving in too deeply on the communion and abortion issues.
Kevin, looking at those shots of you there, one hand can't help but notice it's been a long time since we've seen that kind of gathering with all the pomp, right, Jamie?
So this is exactly what I was just going to ask him about. I want to talk about the scene behind you because I've seen a few people wearing masks, and I was wondering, in terms of normalcy, pre-COVID scene, how does it feel now, and how does it feel compared to what's happening in D.C. where you live?
Right. So, I mean, Italy, you have to remember, really took the brunt of this. Of course, New York City did as well. But Italy saw such a horrific impact from COVID-19. You do still see a lot of people with masks on, including walking around outside. We're, of course, in a bit of a tourist sector where we are. But in some sense, people are still kind of gathering a bit together, perhaps more so than you would feel comfortable doing during the real heat of the pandemic over the past couple months, especially when they were crowding along the barrier fences here to see the motorcade come in. But as you mentioned, this is a place where a lot of people are converging, both from within Europe and also beyond. We've talked to some Americans who are here, not necessarily for the president's visit, but also very excited when they heard the president happens to be coming here today. We spoke to one expat who was also coming down here, did not have a mask on, and was roaming around, wanted to see the motorcade as it arrived. While I have you on that, I should mention that we did do a little tourist shopping, if you will, and perhaps it's a bit sacrilege to call it this, but this is a rosary that my producer Maureen was able to pick up at one of the gift shops, and to show you kind of just how pivotal Francis is and beloved here. Here's a little prayer card with his face on it. And it's worth noting, of course, that the rosary is something that's so near and dear to Biden's heart. He does hold one with him so frequently, including the one previously held by his own son, Beau, who passed away a few years ago.
So interesting. Kevin, thank you so much for bringing that to us. We hope that you, as Jamie was pointing out earlier, can find some time to enjoy yourself there and get some good pasta and enjoy what looks like a beautiful day.